The following program was produced by a community producer. The content, views, and opinions expressed are the source and do not reflect Malden Access Television, the City of Malden, or your cable provider. MATV welcomes your comments. Call us at 781-321-6400 or email us at access@matv.org.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Big Cat Production. We ready?
Yo, G, they can't stop me from rapping, can they? Can they hop?
Greetings to all. My name is Stephen Warrington, the host of Let's Talk About It. On air with me today is Tamara Charles. She's the author of Unbroken, Still I Smile, and the founder and CEO of Sisters in Charge, Inc. Tamara, a native of Haiti, with her parents came to America in search of a better life. An established businesswoman now in the Atlanta community, but her role coming up is a narrative littered with a disturbing and graphic chronicle of sexual and physical assault. Today, unconditionally, we're emphasizing the imperative of developing the nerve to flee the paralyzing emotional and psychological hold of an abuser. And on the other side of this break, you get the chance to hear it all on Let's Talk About It. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. The story of Tamara Charles is one of survivorship, powerful and inspirational for all to take a firm stance against the callous acts of abuse. For those who've encountered or know of those being abused, you can find courage through her story and answer the call to declare independence and the right to be treated with dignity. Today, Tamara is the founder and CEO of Sisters in Charge, Inc. and the author of Unbroken, Still I Smile. Despite her passage along the road of sexual and physical maltreatment and a threatening malady, Tamara is an example. If you look beyond what's obstructing your path and take action, you can courageously go through and overcome it. Tamara was born in Haiti and came to the United States to join her parents at the age of 7. When they finally brought Tamara and her siblings to the States, they settled themselves in New York. Well, Tamara, welcome to my show. Let's talk about it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Tamara, tell me, when your parents came to the States to get established, how old were you when they departed and left you behind in Haiti?
When they departed and left me behind in Haiti, I was 6 years old when my parents left. I came to the U.S. when I was 7 years old.
Okay. At that age, what was the experience like being separated from your mother and father?
I was confused because while I was departed from my parents, I was in Haiti. I was being sexually assaulted by a friend of the family who was supposed to be helping with my aunt to help take care of me and my brother and sister. But during that time, he will, the whole year my parents were gone, he was sexually assaulted me. So I didn't understand. I was very young, but I knew what he was doing because I used to feel it would be painful. And I remember he would tell me, don't say nothing.
That's very unfortunate. And you never did say anything about it?
Never. Till I wrote my book last year, and I was 39 last year when I finally opened up and talked about it, and it was through my book. That was like my closure. That was my peace.
Okay. As you reflect on those early years once you were reunited with your parents, living in New York, a different country, different people, community, and culture, what was the transition like for you? Did life seem better?
I remember when I was getting on the plane, it was me, my brother, and my sister. I felt like when I arrived, I felt like I was in a totally different world. Like, I remember it was cold because it was in September. It was like chilly. I knew I was coming to a better place, for a better living. So it was different. It was different compared to Haiti. But I was happy to be reunited with my parents at the time. Yes.
Of course, especially for all the unfortunate events that were taking place while you were apart from them.
Yes, sir.
We're going to take a quick break and pick up the conversation when we come back. Coming up next on Let's Talk About It.
To become something better tomorrow than they were, because, my parents, they finished high school, but they didn't have a college degree because, they were too busy taking care of, me and my sisters and brothers. So they, back in Haiti, didn't have the opportunity to, to go to college. But they both did finish high school, but then they always wanted us to, me and my sisters and brothers, to finish high school, to go to college, to get our masters, and just to be somebody.
You're listening to Let's Talk About It. I'm your host, Stephen Warrington, and we're talking to my guest. Her name is Tamara Charles. She's the author of Unbroken Still I Smile and the founder and CEO of Sisters in Charge, Inc. Now, your family moved ultimately from New York to Lynn, Massachusetts. What was the draw to come to Massachusetts, and specifically Lynn? Was there family members in Lynn at the time?
Yeah, we had family members, like my father's sisters and brothers were already here before my dad and my mom came. So some of them were established in New York, some were established in Lynn, Massachusetts. So after, we went from New York to Lynn, so my parents was like, okay, we're moving to Lynn, and I was raised in Lynn, almost my whole life, but yeah.
Haiti is considered one of the world's poorest countries due to corruption, poor infrastructure, healthcare, and education. Tamara's parents came to America in search of a better life. Being from Haiti and having old-fashioned parents, they brought with them certain cultural values and mores, ways of life that had to be adhered to. Tamara, what were some of the values that your parents instilled in you and your siblings?
So I remember, when we was young, my parents always taught us that when somebody older than us, when adults are talking to us, we have to learn how to listen and respect. And, we can't be fresh to, older, elderly, like, talking to us. So, they taught us how to behave, wherever we was at. If we was at a family member, we had to learn how to, behave or carry ourselves where we was, where we at all times. They taught us, like, family value. They taught us, like, to get our education, and to become something better tomorrow than they were, because, my parents, they finished high school, but they didn't have a college degree because, they were too busy taking care of, me and my sisters and brothers. So they, back in Haiti, they didn't have the opportunity to, to go to college. But they both did finish high school, but then they always wanted us to, me and my sisters and brothers, to finish high school, to go to college, to get our masters, and just to be somebody, because we've watched our parents struggle, and that's one thing they taught us, that, we had to learn from them. We had to be better than them, so I really appreciate my parents for teaching us that, to come here to America and to go for our dreams, to do what makes us happy, just to live life, but in a safe mannered way.
Right. I understand Haitian parents can be very strict. For example, it's considered disrespectful to look an elder in their eyes when you're speaking to them. Now that you're a woman with your own children, are such customs still followed in your own household?
Yes. So it's so funny you asked us, you asked me this, because I still, even though I was raised here, I have that American, but I also have that Haitian mentality, that Haitian, like, I still discipline my kids certain way, like, my parents used to discipline me, but I have that American side of me too, but I try to teach my kids when I'm talking to them, or when any elders are talking to them, they have to look at them in the eye, because, and I teach them, I let them know when you don't look at somebody in the eyes, that means, you're being disrespectful. You need eye contact so people can know, okay, you're listening, you're hearing what the other person is saying. Because when you don't, that's rude, So I still have that Haitian mentality, would I say? I still value my, the Haitian, the Haitian way, and with my children, I don't beat them, but I take stuff away from them. Like if I know my son has, he was misbehaved in school or something, and I know what he loves is his PlayStation. I would take that away from him, because I'm, until I'm ready to say, okay, you off punishment. Like growing up in Haiti, they would beat you with a belt or, different, that kind of, way. But I don't do that with my children, but I do punish them, where I take stuff away from them, or I take stuff that I know that they love.
Right. As a young girl, Tamara remembers her father riding his bicycle in blizzard-like weather, watching him struggle to make it to work every day. He's a construction worker, having brought those skills with him from Haiti. Eventually, her parents purchased their first home about 30 years ago in Lynn, Massachusetts, after a lot of hard work and sacrifices to create a better life for the family. Tamara, we know a little bit about your dad, but tell me about your mom, her work and or sacrifices she made to provide a better life for you and your siblings when you were brought to the States.
My mom always been a hardworking woman. My mom's always worked like 2 jobs. Even till this day, she's in her 60s, she works 2 jobs. I'm just like my mom because I work hard, and we know what it's like to come from nothing to come to America where we can be somebody, So we go all out. We strive to do better with ourselves, and we do it for our children, And my mom I'm just like my mother. It's funny. I'm just like her, the way that she thinks, her mentality, her hard work. She worked 2 jobs. There was a time I worked 2 jobs myself because I'm like, okay, I needed to take care of my children. Being a single mom, it was hard, even though she had my dad, but she always worked 2 jobs. My dad always worked, and they always, wanted better for themselves. They didn't want to struggle. They didn't want to not be able to provide for me and my brothers and sisters. So they did what they had to do to, make it a better life for us. My dad to be riding his bike to work in a blizzard, he did that for us. So when I was little, I used to watch my dad, riding his bike in the blizzard, in Lynn, Massachusetts. So I always knew, that really hurt me because at the time he didn't have a car. So we were, I think it was a 2-bedroom apartment we had, and it was 6 of us, So it was a struggle for us. But one thing about my parents, they didn't give up. My dad was on, he was riding that bike because he knew he had to work and pay rent and save money, and eventually, they bought a house. They've had that house till now for 30 years. So I get all my strength from my parents,
right?
Especially my mom,
right?
Because I think it's hard. She works hard.
She sounds like a great woman, great mother. We're going to take a quick break and pick up the conversation when we come back. Coming up next on Let's Talk About It.
Once into the relationship, I wouldn't call it a relationship because I was young. I didn't even want to be in that relationship. What had happened was, my friends were like, go ahead, talk to him. And I felt like, okay, if I didn't talk to him, it was like, okay, my friends are, they hanging out with, his friends, and I wanted to be down with the group. So that's what it was about. But I at that age, I didn't know better. I didn't know, at that time, I'm like, I thought you kissed a boy, you were pregnant. That was
My name is Stephen Warrington, host of Let's Talk About It, and my guest today is Tamara Charles, founder and CEO of Sisters in Charge, Inc., and the author of Unbroken Still I Smile. Thus far, we've been covering the basics of when and why her family came to the States, where they settled, and so forth. But now we're going to take a hard turn and dive into the disturbing truth regarding her relationships. Be advised, Tamara is sharing her amazing story of victory overcoming domestic violence in 3 relationships, and the details are pretty graphic and disturbing. But we're thankful that she overcame these challenges and now demonstrates the courage and willingness to share her narrative and shine as a beacon of hope for others on how to survive and overcome their abusers. We won't identify individuals by name for the sake of the audience to follow along. We'll reference her experiences as relationship 1, 2, and 3. Tamara, in relationship 1, you guys met in high school, right?
Yes, I was in high school, yes.
What grade were you in and what year was that?
I was in the 9th grade, so 91, 92, 91, I believe. Yeah, because I graduated in 95, so yeah.
Okay. And now you had a set of twins with this gentleman, relationship 1, and he became very jealous. You previously mentioned he demonstrated narcissistic behaviors. He wouldn't allow you to have any friends. How long into that relationship did it take you before you started to see his insecurities and aggression?
Well, I've seen it in a couple of months of me. Like I said, we was in high school. I remember it was like a bunch of me and my friends. It was like a bunch of, his cousins and his friends. And they were from, Cambridge, Massachusetts. They would come down to Lynn. It was that type of, my friend, one of my, my girlfriends were dating his friend, so it was just that, like a group thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I started seeing the sign, maybe months after. Yeah, I would say about months into the relationship. I mean, I wouldn't call it a relationship because I was young. I didn't even want to be in that relationship. What had happened was, my friends were like, go ahead, talk to him. And I felt like, okay, if I didn't talk to him, it was like, okay, my friends are, they hanging out with, his friends, and I wanted to be down with the group. So that's what it was about. But I at that age, I didn't know better. I didn't know, at that time, I'm like, I thought you kissed a boy, you would get pregnant. That was the mentality back then.
Were those things your parents told you to scare you?
Yeah, and I remember, oh my God, but.
If you look at them too long, you'll get pregnant.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Oh, goodness.
But I seen the sign. He wouldn't want me to talk to his friends. He would tell me, who I can hang with. And being young, I didn't see the sign. I didn't know no better. Even though I used to why is he acting like that? To me, I'm thinking oh, he likes me. He likes me. That's why he's being protective. But that's not love. That's not
Right.
And now that I know that's not love in life. But being 14, 15, in high school, we thinking oh my God, he likes me. But that's not the signs were there. But I wasn't educated in that category to know what's abuse or what's not abuse. Mentally, physically, emotionally. I didn't know no better. So at that time, nobody was talking about domestic violence.
Right.
So I wasn't educated at all to know, okay, that's a narcissist disorder.
Mm-hmm.
I was young.
Now, did friends and families ever advise you that he was not a good person and that you should get away from him?
Well, in the beginning, no. It was after I got pregnant. When I was pregnant, even before I was pregnant, he would put his hands on me, and I remember my family, my parents, and his family, parents used to tell us, no, maybe we should go our separate way because the relationship was being, was very unhealthy for us. But we both didn't listen, at that time, even though in the beginning I didn't like him, but I ended up liking him, when I was 18 years old, 19 years old, because I ended up getting pregnant at 19. And but they did want us, but we didn't listen. We both didn't listen. Unfortunately, it took for me to almost, losing my children. At the time, I thought I was having one child, but I ended up finding out I was having twins. So I felt like, okay, I was in it because we had kids at that time. But I said, you know what, I didn't want to be in it because I knew from the beginning I didn't like him. I didn't love him. I made myself, fall in love with him at one point, but it was very unhealthy.
We're going to take a quick break and pick up the conversation when we come back. My name is Stephen Warrington, host of Let's Talk About It, and my guest today is Tamara Charles, founder and CEO of Sisters in Charge, Inc., and the author of Unbroken Still I Smile. Tamara, so at some point, it went from him showing his jealous nature was not just a little jealous, but his actions were alarming and dangerous. Now, when did it become very clear that? Tell us about the incident at his mother's house.
Yeah, it was one day. I used to go to his parents' house all the time, on the weekends and sleep over. And in the beginning, his parents are very strict about that. But eventually, she had his mother had an issue with it, because she was, a church lady. She don't believe, okay, if you're not married, you can't sleep over. But eventually, she didn't mind it, after. But I was, that's when I was pregnant. She didn't have a problem with it. So I remember one time I was at his house, his mother's house. It was a 3-level home in the projects in Cambridge, and we was there. And I don't remember exactly what transpired for him to get mad, but I do remember him dragging me from the third floor, the top floor, which was the third floor, all the way to outside, and by my hair, and I was 4 months pregnant at that time. And he ended up dragging me from upstairs to all the way downstairs, and I remember he was kicking me, and I remember me being in a fetus position, so he would, kick the baby, and at the time I didn't know I was having one child. I didn't know if I was having two, twins. I'm thinking, I'm pregnant with one, and while he's, beating me up, I'm on the floor outside in a project, and there was people outside. They didn't help, and it took a lady to come out with a broomstick, to start hitting him with it, eventually, to get him off of me. The ambulance came and took me to the nearest hospital, which I believe it was Somerville Hospital. And from there, they try to hear the baby's heartbeat, trying to calm it down. And I remember it took them hours to find a heartbeat. After IV, and I calmed down. They give me, medication. Like hours later, they ended up hearing not just one heartbeat, but 2 heartbeats.
Wow.
And there, I knew God had given, my children, a chance to live. And he didn't only bless me with one child, but he blessed me with 2. And it was from there, I was like, I could have lost my both of my kids, both of my babies. So even though that incident happened, I had to say to myself, like, this is unhealthy, especially to a man like I didn't love. It was all because it was like a group thing. My friends dating his friends, and I wanted to feel like I'm down with the group, which was not the right, thing for me to do. And I don't regret my children, but I regret, like, the person that I had my children with, because I know from the beginning I didn't like him. I didn't love him. So I had to make, I made myself fall in love with him, and it wasn't something natural. So it was a tough situation and a hard situation because you know, I know what it's like to have children by a man that you wasn't into and that you didn't love, and he knew that, and I think that's why he was like that with me, because I didn't show him the love. I couldn't give him the love because I wasn't, you know, physically, emotionally attracted to him in that level. But it was like you know, a group thing, and I didn't want to feel left out, so I talked to him.
How long after that major incident, him dragging you down the stairs, 3 flights of stairs, and dragging you outside and going to the hospital, how long after that did it take for you to ultimately break up with him?
Well, I broke up with him after I had my children. They were probably like a month old.
Mm-hmm.
When I just couldn't do it. I couldn't give him what he wanted. He wanted, you know, a fan. You know, at that time when my kids were born, that's when he wanted to change. He wanted to be a father. But at that time, I felt like, even though as much as I wanted to work things out with him,
Mm-hmm.
he was an abuser. After I had my kids, he was still putting his hands on me. You know, he used to come to my parents' house and stop tease television because I was like, I don't want to be with him. So,
In your parents' house?
yeah. Oh yeah. In my parents' house. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So he, you know, I just couldn't do it. I left to go to New York. I went to stay with my grandmother to New York for a few. And I ended up coming back. But at that time, I was like, I couldn't be with him because I'm like, you know, now like I'm like, all I was caring about was my children, was raising my kids, you know. Because I didn't want to be with him after, you know, I had my children, and he was never a part, you know, he was there in my kids' lives, but he wasn't the father figure to my children. Like, his family was more there for my children than he was. He would pick up my children on the weekends and bring my kids to his family's house. He didn't spend time. He's never been to a hospital, you know, a doctor's appointment. He don't even know. He didn't know the teacher's name. Like, he probably been to 2 football games out of my son's life. You know, he was just never there. Like,
His character was unworthy and he couldn't be trusted.
yeah, all big time. Yes.
We're going to take a quick break and pick up the conversation when we come back.
Rocks further down the street with the brim pulled way down low. Ain't no sound but the sound of speed. Machine guns ready to go. Are you ready? Hey, are you ready for this? Are you hanging on the edge of your seat? Out of the doorway, the bullets rip to the sound of the beat. Yeah. Another one bites the dust.
You're listening to Let's Talk About It. I'm your host, Stephen Warrington. We've been talking to Tamara Charles. She's the author of Unbroken Still I Smile and the founder and CEO of Sisters in Charge, Inc., an established businesswoman now in the Atlanta community. The story of Tamara Charles is one of survivorship, powerful and inspirational for all to take a firm stance against the callous acts of abuse. Tamara is an example. If you look beyond what's obstructing your path and take action, you can courageously go through and overcome it. For those who've encountered or know of those being abused, you can find courage through her story. Previously on Let's Talk About It.
After I had my children, they were probably like a month old.
Mm-hmm.
When I just couldn't do it. I couldn't give him what he wanted. He wanted, you know, a fan. You know, at that time when my kids were born, that's when he wanted to change. He wanted to be a father. But at that time, I felt like, even though as much as I wanted to work things out with him,
Mm-hmm.
he was an abuser.
Thus far, we've been covering the basics. Tamara was born in Haiti and came to the United States to join her parents at the age of 7. Be advised, Tamara is sharing her amazing story of victory overcoming domestic violence in 3 relationships, and the details are pretty graphic and disturbing. Tamara shared in relationship 2. He didn't want a child and eventually committed a very cowardly act that would jeopardize the health and life of both Tamara and baby. They had conversations about her terminating, but she was uncomfortable with that decision. Now, moving on to relationship number 2, quickly tell us, how did you meet him? And you have a son or daughter with him?
Relationship number 2, I do have 2 children by him. My daughter, she'll be 15 on August 1st, and my son will be 13 October. With him, I met him in New York. At the time, I was living in New York. I met him in New York. It's so crazy how the pattern continued, because my first abuser, I met him through a friend. The second one, I met him through a friend. You know, when I ended up getting pregnant for my daughter, he wanted me to have an abortion. He didn't want to have no kids. At the time I met him, he told me about one child that he had. He had a son, who at the time I believe was like 4 when I met him, 3 or 4 years old, and I ended up getting pregnant by him, and he didn't want me to have my daughter. You know, at the time he didn't want me to keep the pregnancy. He took me to the hospital. I remember, like, my son, I was having pain. That was my trimester. I remember I was having pain, and I knew, because it was like all the stress he was putting me through, because it was like, you know, he didn't want to have no kids, whatever. And so I acted like I was going to get the abortion. So I made him meet to the emergency room, but I made him wait in the area in the waiting area. So I didn't have him come with me in the patient room. So I was there for hours, because they had to do check my urine, check my blood work to make sure everything was fine, and to do pelvic to make sure, you know, I wasn't having any bleeding inside or anything like that, because I was very crampy. So everything, you know, was fine. After hours, they let me go. So he thought I had did the abortion.
Tamara, tell us about what took place in relationship number 2 on that day when you told the truth about not going through with the abortion.
I didn't tell him till probably when I was like 3, and I was going on my 4 months. It was like the end of my first trimester. I told him I remember I was turning 4 months when I told him. And the way that I told him, we had went to dinner. It was like Valentine's Day, and we had went to dinner. And coming back from dinner, I started telling him, I said, look, I didn't have the abortion. And I remember him. He looked at me. He said, what? I said, I didn't go through with it. He was like, so that's why you've been eating, you've been sleeping, you know? I said, yeah. And I remember he just stopped the car in the middle of the street. And that was in Brooklyn. He got out his side, he opened my side, and he pulled me out of the car. So while he went back to the driver's seat, his side, I tried to open the door. So now I'm holding onto the door, and he's driving with me, holding onto the door. I ended up falling off, you know, the car, but I was holding onto the car. And it was a lady that seen that, and she came and helped me. And I remember she took me to my girlfriend's house, which I was close by.
Did you ever report that incident?
No, I never reported that accident. No.
We're going to take a quick break and pick up the conversation when we come back. Coming up next on Let's Talk About It.
He never put his hands on me after that, except for that one time when I had bought a house in Boston and Springfield. He was working, and he was working 2 jobs and couldn't help me pay any of the mortgage or any bills in the house. And I was wondering, I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, working 2 jobs. I ended up finding out, it was my private investigator, and I came across, I'm like, something is not right, and he wouldn't tell me the truth. So I'm like looking, fishing, going through his stuff one day while he was at work, and I'm like, I need to know what's going on. I ended up finding a pay stub.
You're listening to Let's Talk About It. I'm your host, Stephen Warrington, and we're talking to my guest. Her name is Tamara Charles. She's the author of Unbroken Still I Smile and the founder and CEO of Sisters in Charge, Inc. Tamara shared in relationship 2. He didn't want a child and eventually committed a very cowardly act that would jeopardize the health and life of both Tamara and baby. What prevented you from advocating for yourself at that time? Because that was a life and death situation.
I didn't tell, nobody knew. I didn't say anything to nobody but my girlfriend, which the lady that helped me took me to her house, and she was telling my girlfriend what she had, witnessed. She did. My girlfriend did say, to call the police, but I didn't go with the police.
And how did that relationship end?
We ended up being together after, maybe weeks after. He changed. He never put his hands on me after that, except for that one time when I had bought a house in Boston in Springfield, and he was working, and he was working 2 jobs and couldn't help me pay any of the mortgage bill, the mortgage or any bills in the house. And I was wondering, I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, working 2 jobs. I ended up finding out, through doing my private investigator, because I'm like, okay, we live together. I have a mortgage. I put the money down. All the down payment came from me. He didn't give me not even a penny, nothing. And all I ask is, for you to help support with the bills. You live here, and you work in 2 jobs. But it's like, okay, you're telling me, you don't have no money. So where's the money? What are you doing? What are you working? Where's the money going? So I started doing my private investigating, and I came across, I'm like, something is not right. And he wouldn't tell me the truth. So I'm looking, fishing, going through his stuff one day while he was at work. And I'm like, I need to know what's going on. I ended up finding a pay stub where they were taking child support for 4 different children, 4 kids with different last names. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
So how I found out because he was in the army. He fought in the war before, and I found out he had 3 girls in Georgia at the time I was with him, and 3 different girls by 3 different women, plus his son that I knew. And when I remember when he came home, I told him about it. We started arguing and stuff like that. I had packed my stuff. I went to my parents' house and left him in the house by himself. I took the kids, my children. I went to my parents' house. So I was like, I'm not gonna be with a man I don't know. You had kids. You don't even talk about. And I was like, it makes sense to why that you work in 2 jobs and you can't even help pay the mortgage or a light bill, nothing. So that's how we ended up breaking up. And I waited till he left, for me to go back to my house.
Finally, in relationship 3, Tamara states that he had no father. His mother was in and out of his life, causing him to be a very angry man. And Tamara began to also discern his real intentions. Sex was the real basis for their relationship. Tell me, how long was you in relationship number 3?
Relationship number 3, I was with for 6.5 years.
And when and how did it begin to dawn on you that he was only motivated by the physical nature of your relationship?
It started when I started dating his son's mother. Ended up, filing child support, and he ended up, paying child support because she didn't like the fact that I was with her kid's father, and so it started from there. I felt like he would take his anger from her putting him on child support. He would take that out on me because she would tell him that the only reason why you're on child support is because I don't like Tamara. And this woman, I don't, you don't like me for no reason because I'm dating your kid's father. So she, he was, like, I remember he would always throw that in my face, saying, oh, the only reason why I'm on child support is because I'm with you, and I used to tell him, like, well, you don't need to deal with me, if that's the case, if that's how you feel. And he would go out and drink and come home and drunk. He would when he would come home, he would want to have sex with me, and all I could smell was the liquor all over him. And I would say no. And if I said no, he would just throw me off the bed, and I would fall. So once I got up from the floor, I would just pick my pillow and I would hit him with my pillow. I would hit him back for throwing me. Then they would get up and start banging my head against our bedroom walls, and in the morning he wouldn't remember anything that he did. It just kept continuing, and I would just, I would forgive him. I would say okay, like, and I remember like him sleeping when he would be in the bed with me. He would be sleeping. He used to have like nightmares, like fighting in his sleep. And I used to try to reach out to his family. I'm like, especially his mother. I used to be like, what had happened with him? I reached out again to his grandmother, and his grandmother, started, being honest with me, But he was fighting a demon from, from being molested, at a young age.
We're going to take a break here for a moment. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Coming up next on Let's Talk About It.
And it was just one thing after another. From the last time he ended up sending me to the hospital, he almost strangled me to death. His handprint was around my neck for at least 2 weeks. And it was like Memorial Day week, and I remember that Saturday morning, it was like a Friday night turning into Saturday morning, and he just came home drunk, and I remember he was just banging my head in that living room. All I could see was like a flash, like, that's all I remembered at that moment.
My name is Stephen Warrington, host of Let's Talk About It, and my guest today is Tamara Charles, founder and CEO of Sisters in Charge, Inc., and the author of Unbroken Still I Smile. Be advised, Tamara is sharing her amazing story of victory overcoming domestic violence in 3 relationships, and the details are pretty graphic and disturbing. In relationship 3, Tamara states that he had no father. His mother was in and out of his life, causing him to be a very angry man. And Tamara began to also discern his real intentions.
I should have left long time ago, because he sent me to the hospital 3 different times, and I remember all the times he sent me there. The first 2 times he would be sitting right by my side by the bed, and I'm sitting there lying to the doctors and nurses that's coming in there asking me what had happened. And I'm saying I got into a fight with a girl, or I fell, knowing that he threw me down the stairs, and him banging my head on the floor, living room floor, and because he's drunk, don't remember, and he's pissed, so he's taking all his anger out of me, and he used to just go out and he'll get paid and go out and spend all his money and couldn't help with the bills. And I felt like I was more of his mother. His mother wasn't there, she was in and out of his life, and his father wasn't there. So I felt like I was the punching bag for everything, that had happened to him. All the anger, all the frustration he was dealing with, I felt like I was the one that that was taking all the punching bag for everybody else's mistake, for all the hurt that he had gone through. It was like he had a drinking problem. He had so many issues that he was fighting with inside. As a woman, there's so much you can take, and when you fed up, you fed up. I tried to, kick him out. I packed his bag in trash bags, and he refused to leave, and he would say he's sorry, and And me, who's stupid at the time, was like, okay, thinking like, oh my God, I don't want him, to go out there and hurt somebody else, because he would threaten to go out and hurt anybody that he would see on the street. And it was just one thing after another, till the last time he ended up sending me to the hospital. He almost strangled me to death. His handprint was around my neck for at least 2 weeks. And it was like Memorial Day weekend. I remember that Saturday morning. It was like a Friday night turning into Saturday morning, and he just came home drunk, and I remember he was just banging my head in our living room. All I seen was like a flash. Like, that's all I remembered at that moment. And when I woke up, all I remember him was like his hand around me, saying he's sorry, he won't do it, he won't ever do it again, and him crying, and I'm crying, and I'm like, I remember my kids were upstairs, so I had to like calm down and say, okay, I forgive you, it's okay, everything's gonna be okay. I remember going upstairs, and all I seen was my children, all of them in one room, and I remember seeing all of them in that corner in that one room. And I was just saying, you need to do better. You've got to do better. I wouldn't wish anything like that for a mother to be going through an abusive relationship, and you go up in your children's room and all 4 kids in the corner. So I had to get help. I call that as a lesson learned, and I never looked back.
You spent 2 weeks. You went to the hospital. You was in Mass General Hospital. Family came to visit you. They prayed for you. And at that time, you were still in the relationship with number 3. But you told me about an incident with your daughter while you were in the hospital. Can you tell me about that?
When my daughter had come to visit me, it was my daughter, my mom, my dad, a few other family members. I remember when it was time for them to go, my daughter, she was very hysterical in the hospital room. She grabbed, when they were telling, my parents were saying, okay, we're leaving, they were saying they're leaving. And my daughter just grabbed my sheet that was covering me when I was laying on the bed. She was like, no, Mommy, let's go. I said, I can't go. She started being so hysterical. She's like, no, I want my mommy to come home. Let's go, Mommy, let's go. And she was just like, she was losing it.
My name is Stephen Warrington, host of Let's Talk About It, and my guest today is Tamara Charles, author of Unbroken Still I Smile and founder and CEO of Sisters in Charge, Inc. Previously, we uncovered the disturbing details of violence and abuse in 3 relationships. Moving forward, we're going to learn what helped Tamara find her strength to overcome these life challenges. Something unleashed an awakening. She realized it was time she had to make major changes and better life choices. Her body demanded it, and Tamara also felt a spiritual nudging. God was intervening and giving a sort of ultimatum. Tamara was diagnosed with MS, multiple sclerosis, which is an unpredictable, often disabling disease of the central nervous system. Tamara, tell us about the symptoms you began to experience before being diagnosed with MS.
Then I ended up being diagnosed with MS. I was blind out of my right eye.
Quickly, was there any history of MS in your family?
No history at all. I remember in the hospital, they were asking me, anybody in my family, I called both my parents. They said no. And I remember the doctor said, it can be environmental. Once the doctor told me what MS was, I knew for a fact it was because of the unhealthy relationship that I've experienced for years. I remember because of the banging my head against the wall that triggered the sickness to come out of me. And I think it was God. I was saying, MS is not going to wake you up. I don't know what else is going to wake you up. From there, being blind, for a couple of months, not knowing and being in fear, not knowing that you're going to get your eyesight back was the worst. I would have wished that on my worst enemy, because it wasn't a great feeling, because at that point, I didn't want to live in it. I just didn't want to live, but because I had kids And after what they see me go through, I'm like, how can I take my life and leave my children? I couldn't go through with it. I used to put the pillow over my head when the nurses would leave in the middle of the night, because I knew, okay, between midnight and probably like 4, they wasn't going to come in till my next med at 5 or 6 in the morning, or the next shift coming in at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. And so I remember I used to cover the pillow and I used to scream and ask God, please give me a second chance with my eyesight. I was like, I'm so young. I don't want to not be able to see out of my right eye and just see what I went through, what my daughter was going through. That I couldn't even bear to put my children into another ordeal like I've done put them through. And I asked God to forgive me for putting them through that. I asked my children to forgive me for putting them through that. And they did. We have a better relationship now. They didn't realize, they didn't know how to express to me. They were frustrated with me to see their mom going through that, and I wasn't doing nothing about it, and I was still there. So I had to be an example to I have 2 daughters and two boys. I had to be an example to my children. I had to show my daughter, okay, this is very unacceptable for men to put their hands on you, and teach them this is not love. Love is not supposed to hurt. I had to teach my son, hitting a woman is very unacceptable. That's not how you treat a woman. That's not love. You don't tell a woman you love them and you beating on them. So I had to be that role model to my daughter.
We're going to take a break here for a moment. Stay with us. We'll be right back. My name is Stephen Warrington, host of Let's Talk About It, and my guest today is Tamara Charles. We've been talking to Tamara about when and why her family came to the States. We covered the disturbing details of violence and abuse in 3 relationships. We learned about her diagnosis with multiple sclerosis and the events that caused her to realize she had to make some better life choices. We're going to turn our attention now to the radical changes she made that helped her heal from her wounds and use her story to speak to and promote services for other victims. During the winter of 2015, Massachusetts was home for Tamara, but she felt there was something missing. Impulsively, that winter she rented a truck and decided to leave all behind. There was no planning or job awaiting, but she hit the road and set her GPS for Atlanta, Georgia. Tamara, let us pick up the story from here. When you left Lynn, Massachusetts, was your instincts more about running away to escape your relationship, or did you sense a larger destiny awaiting you when you chose to get out?
It was all of the above. I was very unhappy there. I was very, imagine you being at a football game, your son's football game. My son had played for the East Lip Pop Warner. His son had played for East Lip Pop Warner, and you seeing your abuser walking free. I was very unhappy living in Massachusetts, and this is the best I've ever lived in my life. Like, I love doing what I'm doing.
Why did you decide on Atlanta?
I used to come visit one of my girlfriends, who is my daughter's godmother, and when I used to come visit her, I always liked it here. And I've seen the progress she made here, moving from Boston to Atlanta. And I just felt like I can grow here. And I'm happy.
What did you experience in the days and weeks following once you arrived, and how long did it really take you to get settled with an apartment and a job?
Well, I already had my apartment 6 months before I moved. I came 1 week and I came to visit, and I just got me the apartment. And the next week I flew back. The following week and I flew again back to Atlanta. I bought my furniture, put my cable and everything. So I had an apartment 6 months before I officially moved there.
Your book, Unbroken Still I Smile, that's a very determined statement in the face of your adversity and a powerful title. Tell us about the book quickly.
It's a memoir about my survivorship with sexual assault, 3 domestic violence relationships, and now living as a multiple sclerosis warrior. Inspire other women, to give them hope. to let them know, okay, they can have faith and, they can love again.
The organization called Sisters in Charge, Inc. You work with battered women and their children. What type of services and resources do you provide?
Safe haven. So if a victim calls me, they're trying to get out of the relationship, so they'll reach out to me, and if I will try to provide a safe haven, a shelter called shelter that's open, and get them into a safe haven, and give them the resources that they need for financial, job, any type of assistance that we can help. If I can, find it or get the help, I will call one of my partners. And
how do you envision your story having an impact on those who come to know it?
Oh, it's gonna inspire them. Especially for those women who are living in silence. They're gonna see what I went through, and they're gonna see how I was able to overcome everything. It's gonna give them that push, that encouragement to wanna get out.
As we wrap this up, where can one go for more information about your book, your organization, and all the other great things you're involved with?
Yeah, they can find my book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle. They can reach out to me. They can find me on Facebook. I am on Facebook as Tamara Charles. I am also on Instagram as Tamara Charles _. I am on Twitter as author Tamara C. And my website is Sisters in Charge Inc. #1 @gmail.com.
And as we conclude today, considering all you've endured, give us some parting words.
What I would learn from my experience is to love me first. I had to give myself time to heal in order for me to love myself, because when I was going through all these years, I didn't love myself, because if I had loved myself, I would have never gone through what I went through.
Right. Well, that's great advice, a great word. And Tamara, I want to thank you so much for being a part of my show and sharing your very moving testimony. Your strength and determination serves as an inspiration to us all, and God bless you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. The hour has come, everyone. Our time is up for today's program. I want to thank my guests once again. And this is a bittersweet moment because time is up for my show. Let's talk about it as well. It's hard to do, but for now, I'm retiring the show indefinitely. Maybe one day I'll bring it back. But sometimes some things must die in order for other things to come to life, grow, and thrive. So that's what I'm doing. I'm letting one thing go to take on another. So I truly want to take the time to thank all my guests over the last 4 years. You are all wonderful. I want to thank many of you, my audience, for the great encouragement and the feedback given. And I want to thank the MATV community that has been so very supportive. Finally, for now, I'm Stephen Warrington, your host, saying thank you, God bless, and good night. Let's Talk About It is a creation of Big Cat Productions.
Said I don't wanna leave you lonely. You gotta make me